Mr. Watkins, it's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sitting with an interview. And this convention has been really extraordinary on a lot of levels. And I was really taken with your presentation. And I believe the Black Family Master Plan was the topic of your talk.
Yeah, that is correct.
And I was really, really taken with this because you mentioned there's two problems facing Black families. One, Black families are breaking up at an alarming rate.
Yep.
And two, it's overwhelming being the head of the household. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about those and why you focused in on those two specific parts of the Black family.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about American society, world society, the family is the core building block of any community. Mm-hmm. So if you have a family that is breaking up and losing wealth, and not just financial wealth, but thinking about wealth more holistically, the family is the core building block of any community. So if you have families breaking up at an alarming rate, think about what is lost to a community. You have parents fighting all the time. You have parents fighting about money. And think I was just listening to the speech in terms of the concept of generational trauma. So when you have families break up and can't get along, you lose so much for a community, and you pass on that generational trauma over and over and over again. And it doesn't just stay constant. That trauma tends to amplify and get worse and worse until you're left with a community with nothing left.
Welcome to Rhythm of Life. I'm Steve Ordower. This is the third episode of our limited series about the All-Black National Convention that was held just outside of Chicago in Lombard, Illinois in October of 2024, spearheaded by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Over 60 experts from around the world came to share their wisdom over 3 days on topics such as economics, education, health, politics, and spirituality, with the aim of empowering the Black community. I sat down with one of the founders of the All-Black National Convention, Lawrence Watkins, who spoke about the Black Family Master Plan. This is a multifaceted roadmap to empower the Black community by focusing on the family with four main parts to it. Number one is to earn, to increase income through such means as entrepreneurship, real estate, stocks, and tax reduction. Number two is to protect, by limiting downside risks by utilizing mechanisms such as insurance, savings, credit, and estate planning. Number three is to sustain, to make day-to-day life pleasurable and fulfilling, focusing on such things as health, skills, and one's environment. And number four is to connect, by creating memories and experiences as a result of actively cultivating nourishing parts of one's life, such as community, marriage, and one's extended family and friends. Yeah, and it's interesting. I would imagine you probably have some statistical analysis about this, but America has never been really pro family, I think, in general, but specifically toward the Black community. It's been pretty harsh in so many ways, and we could go on and on about that. But there's also the crime bill that happened, and that probably took what you're talking about, Black families breaking up, to a whole nother level. Is that accurate? Yeah. I mean, the optimists would say the end result was a matter of unintended consequences. And then other people will say, it was planned. It's very intentional. Yeah, intentional destruction of the family. But, many powers that be and people who are smart and understand how communities work and nations work, deeply understand that if you break up one's family, and if you break it up and not allow them to come together and to build, then that community is always going to be oppressed in some way or another. So it's like the bearings of the community are lost. Like there's the foundation it's like you take someone's leg out from under them, and then they're walking around with one leg almost, and they're like, hey, what's the matter? Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what it seems like. And what you're talking about, and I looked at some of your slides, I took photos, and the first one was the Black Family Master Plan, which deals with, or was this the first one where you're talking, or maybe this was the last one, I'm not sure, but you talked about the health on the bottom and the skills and the entertainment. Was that the first one or the last one?
That was the third one.
That was, I'm sorry, so forgive me. Which one was the first one?
The earn slide. So there are 4 broad categories that are part of the Black Family Master Plan.
Yeah, which is entrepreneurship, real estate, micro, private, equity, stocks, and tax reduction.
That is
Would you mind speaking to that a little bit? Because that's, I mean, I don't want please don't feel the need to give your whole talk again, but
no worries.
Just whatever you'd like to share and why, because what you were talking about was so specific and would make such a difference for any family, particularly Black families who generally don't get this type of consciousness and this type of education. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So there are 5 categories or 5 subcategories of the earn portion of the plan. I'm thinking about adding a 6th category. But earn, so that is all about how do you go about increasing your income and your income sources in life. And I say both because you can have all the income in the world that comes from one source, but if that source disappears, that means you go from a lot to zero all overnight. So that's why it's important to have enough income to fund your life and to fund your future generations, but have it diversified enough that if any 1 or 2 income streams disappear over time, you can still survive and thrive as a family. So the basis of that for most people is going to be employment. Employment wasn't on the original master plan. I'm thinking about adding it after just some thought, and I think that's where most people tend to start is employment and learning how to leverage some of the benefits that you get from being an employee can go a long way. One of my friends always says that an employee is just a entrepreneur with one client.
I love that. I remember you mentioned that. That was really, that hit me hard because I'm an entrepreneur and I know exactly what you mean. And it seems like you're really speaking to the heart of, because, I've been listening to your brother for a while and it's very difficult given the dynamic in this country, for most people, but particularly for Black people to be themselves, particularly in corporate America. I mean, my goodness. And if you put all your eggs in one basket in this particular environment that's just reeking with so many microaggressions and it's very difficult and it's traumatic on a lot of levels, both overtly and insidiously. And if that stream of income is cut off because, say somebody can't take it anymore, then it's like, what do I do? Right. And this is really about survival. Having multiple streams of income and planning for that is absolutely, it's not like a nice to have, it's necessary.
Yeah. Another one of my friends always talks about the concepts of freedom and optionality. Right. So freedom is just expanding the level of options and the set of options that you have in your life. And, if you are getting all of your income from, one source and that source doesn't align with your values or your interest and you're doing it because you just have a skill set that, they actually need, then that can be problematic, for the long time for you to have the freedom that you would want to desire in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You talk about, and entrepreneurship is a huge thing. And I know that your brother, Dr. Boyce Watkins, is very much into that. What do you talk about in terms of when you were in the conference the other day? Why is I know entrepreneurship is in line with what we're just talking about, but how do you empower the Black community to move forward and not be nervous about being an entrepreneur? I mean, that's a big hurdle, isn't it?
Yeah, well, being an entrepreneur is very scary because, being an employee, you've kind of had everything done for you.
Yes.
And all you have to do is just worry about doing your job. And then magically, money comes into your account every other week or every month or when, whatever the normal cadence is. When you become an entrepreneur, you're really learning how to be out in the jungle, killing for yourself, and making sure that you can eat, for yourself instead of relying upon others to do so.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's a different relationship to the situation. Totally.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's important for one to have the right mindset of, going into entrepreneurship. and that mindset should be, listen, I'm going to continually learn. I'm going to experiment. And eventually I'm going to figure this thing out. And if I want to shorten the learning curve and the learning cycle, I will go about getting mentors and other types of people to help me along the way. Because it's critical for me and my family to learn how to actually fend for oneself when it comes to this economic landscape of the United States.
Tax reduction. Who is the biggest taker of your income, your wealth in this country?
Sam, Uncle Sam.
Yes, Uncle Sam. So stick them up.
Couldn't Sam.
We take quite a bit, of your income every single month, whatever it might be. So we're gonna play another game. ProPublica is a publication, investigative journalists, but they are looking for transparency in relation to things like wealth. ProPublica had an article a few years back talking about how much the top, maybe it's 25 or 50 families, say like the top 1%, or even not even 1.1% pay in taxes, versus normal everyday people, how much we in general, collective we pay in taxes. And this is just federal taxes, not state or anything like that, but in federal taxes. So, for normal people, they go to work every day, they have a good paying job or not so good paying job, whatever it might be. Yeah. Taking a black job, right. Yeah. We're changing the paradigm of black job over here now. Yeah, this room at the ABNC. How much do you think they pay in taxes per year?
25 to 38.
25%?
38.
On average. So this is after deductions, child tax credits, those types of things. 5%?
5%? No.
3%. So, like normal people, 25. How much do we pay in taxes every year? 40? 30? Yeah. The marginal tax rate might be that, but most people aren't paying that much.
Yeah.
They're paying good. That was close. So 17, I think it was 17.3% is what the normal everyday person pays in taxes. Yeah, federal taxes. Because you have to remember, it's a marginal tax rate. So you pay a little in the early stages and it increases as you make more money. And plus you have deductions, other types of things as well. How much do you think rich people and very wealthy people pay in taxes?
0.
15,
No.
1,
0.
20, 10.
0.
All right, 0. Okay, that's a good guess too. Great guess, 3.4%. This was a few years ago. So normal everyday people paying 17%, rich people paying 3%, 3.4%. And that goes to a quote, I believe it was by Warren Buffett, talking about he pays less in taxes than his secretary. And it's through things like investments and capital gains, because this country values investment and doesn't value labor, right? So if you make your money through labor, you're going to be paying more in taxes versus making your money through investment. So imagine if you had an extra 10% per year that was going into your pocket for your investments and other types of things. So if you make $100,000 a year, imagine you had an extra $10,000 a year to do other things with, like invest and create generational wealth in your family. That's why it's important to think and try to maximize or optimize, tax reduction strategies legally.
And I loved how you showed your family and said, this is who I hustle for. I mean, I was like, I was getting touched because I know exactly what that feels like. I mean, in my morning meditations, I remember, I remind myself specifically what I'm doing things for. And it's very, very clear. And a lot of people don't take time out to reflect on that.
Right.
And that's really in line with your brother's consciousness, which is really great. And you also talked about, the specifics of what you talk about are so like right on. There's so much practical combined with the consciousness building, which is really fascinating to me because one without the other is kind of difficult to maneuver with. So you talk about savings and credit, insurance, estate planning, global citizenship. Got me thinking. Totally. Disaster prep. And then you had the upside down triangle with savings and credit, insurance, estate. Oh, I'm sorry. Global. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the same things. So these are really specific. And what is your background in, if I may ask?
Yeah, so my undergraduate degree is in engineering. So I was an electrical engineer by training, but never practiced. Right after college, I turned down my corporate job offers and moved to New York, Syracuse to help Boyce build his professional speaking business back in about 2006.
Because he was teaching at Syracuse for many years,
That is
right?
correct, yeah.
And so now, is that what was the beginnings of coming to see this come to fruition, the All Black National Convention?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we had to work together about 9 years before the ABNC was created. But it really started off as a grassroots effort. We did everything that we could just to build our audience.
What year about?
Between 2006 and 2014, 2015.
No kidding.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It took quite a while.
Yes.
For us to continue to build.
But you had to do it grassroots in order to have the autonomy that you needed to build something that you thought was worthwhile and would actually really make a difference, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was the foresight of Boyce. Understanding that given who he was as a person, he couldn't always just leverage other people's audiences. He had to actually build his own over time.
Yes, absolutely. And creating something like this, you talked about mentorship. This seems like an incredibly rich environment for people to connect with one another, to find mentors, and to just network in terms of business. Could you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, I'm always impressed by the community, the B1 community, the All Black National Convention community. There are so many very conscious Black folk, but who also have extreme skill sets and are very intelligent and want to use that intelligence for the good of the community. So, coming to a conference like this and just being a part of the broader community, I think it's very beneficial for people who want to continue to grow and continue to be a larger and larger force for not just their own families, but for the world and the Black community in general.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I wonder what, I know that Boyce talks about getting shadow banned and, for being too pro-Black and everything like that, which doesn't surprise me at all. Like not at all. But it's really interesting how other ethnic groups do things of this nature to a degree, I would imagine. But have you received any pushback like, oh, you guys are a threat? Specifically with this conference at all by any chance?
I think that's more of a question for Boyce.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more of a question for Boyce.
I plan on asking him.
Yeah, I think, what makes this conference unique also is that the majority of the money, actually almost all of it, comes from the people. So we don't have corporate sponsors.
Right.
So there's no one to actually pull our sponsorship or pull our funding. So that allows us to operate in a more independent type of fashion.
Oh, and you can be authentic to your mission and not have to worry about, is Nabisco not happy with what I said here, or Nestle or whoever? Oh, that's huge, and you probably get offers.
Anytime there's an audience that comes together in a live event type of fashion, corporations and others know how valuable those types of gatherings can be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really inspiring. And you also talked about, really hit me hard, similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, with health being the most important, then skills on top of that, environment, convenience, and interests. But health is really, really, really important, and it's everything. And the crap that's sold to us as food in this country is, in my opinion, despicable. My kids know that I go on and on about it. And then you see this in communities that don't have that awareness. You see a lot of diabetes, a lot of obesity, and things of this nature. That's amazing that you're like pinpointing this specifically. This is the root of everything. Could you please talk just a bit about the pyramid in terms of the health and then skills and
environment?
I'm sorry, environment, convenience, and you're giving people a framework to understand what's most important. And generally, if you don't have this broken down, people will generally just flail around and not really understand what's happening to them. And they'll be kind of focusing on things that really don't make that much of a difference. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, no, 100% on that front. And I mean, if you have poor health, that limits your options in terms of what you can do in life, more broadly, right? So if you're sick with pneumonia or you're taking insulin shots every day, or just one little small thing can put you in the bed for 2 weeks, how does one run a business, have a job, do anything, spend time with their family? How do they do anything in a consistent basis? And that consistency is necessary, for continual growth. I think the fundamental of everything that we're doing is going to be like, how do you keep your body healthy, your mind healthy, and also your spirit healthy as well?
Who in here, and this is me included, think that health is your most important asset? Who in here treats health as if it was your most important asset? Okay, a few less hands. If you are doing that, great for you. I find in our community, though, more broadly, that we might theoretically say health is our most important asset, but we aren't doing the things day to day to actually show that and to make sure that we're healthy. Because your health impacts literally every single thing that's on here. What happens if you're sick?
Can't spend no money.
You can't work, first of all,
Okay.
right? If you're sick. Yeah, what happens if you're sick? You can't play with your children, or you can't hang out with your wife, or you can't do just about everything that's in the Black Family Master Plan.
Right.
So, this includes me, because I love Cheesecake Factory. And I love Korean barbecue wings and a whole bunch of other stuff that I shouldn't be eating, all right? I implore you to take your health and wellness more seriously.
Nice.
One of the things I'm extremely proud about, and thank you, Dr. Alicia, for this, and Boyce has been trying his hardest to get the rest of the family on board, but, when she came into his life, he started to be a lot more healthy. And that's the powerful, beautiful Black wife who cares about that type of thing. I might be a little bit more stubborn for my wife, unfortunately. And I'm working on it, though. Yeah, I'm on a salad challenge right now, so my challenge right now is to eat like 1 or 2 salads a day. until I get that sweet tooth out of my brain. But yeah, so take your health seriously, everyone. It's extremely valuable and important to you.
And did you discuss relationships by any chance? Like, I know you're all about family, but did you discuss the inner family dynamics at all in your talk?
Yeah, and I think that's the fourth. So the fourth, as I said before, categories are earn, protect, sustain, and connect. So the connect is basically looks like a bullseye in terms of concentric circles, with the most inner circle being that personal connection that you have with yourself. And do you feel personally grounded and personally in sync and in tune, so you can show up in your best self for everyone that you want to affect in this world.
Marriage. Woo-wee. Right. Marriage. So with that, it's hard merging assets, with others and merging yourself and having a common vision and those types of things. But don't you know that most of our wealth in our community is lost because two people, usually the man and the husband, two people just can't get along. And that wealth is eaten up by divorce attorneys and the court systems and everything that comes along with it. That's just your financial wealth. Not to talk about the wealth and the well-being of your children and the family in general. We need to work on making our marriages as strong as possible, because your great-great-great-grandchildren are going to appreciate that you had that intentionality of having and creating such a strong Black family. Family. So what are the things that you're doing with your family, and I go with extended family and friends here too, to be connected with them? One of the most proud things that I'm doing, and thankfully I get another entry today, I'll take that in a second, is my family research project. where I interviewed all of the OGs in the family, all of the elders in the family for about an hour or two, and just asked them about their life. And they told me what was life like growing up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? That's a source of wealth, because one day, little Amina, who was 6, or little August, who was 3, is going to ask about their grandparent, or how Grandma Robin or Grandy, or their great grandparent, and what were they like? So instead of just kind of telling them, oh, they were great, I can actually say, well, come and sit with me for an hour or two, and let's hear directly from them what they thought about their life and their advice on how you should live it. Yeah, so thankfully, I get another entry today. So my Aunt Valeria is over here. So she's one of the people I have not interviewed yet. So during this conference, I'll be able to interview her and get another entry. And this is one of the projects that I'm most proud about, because I think we don't have that legacy. We don't have that memory of legacy in our communities. So the more we can create that in our families, the better. But what are you doing to give back to your community? Because it's not just your family that's going to move Black people forward. It's going to be the families of everyone else in this room and everyone who is not in this room. So the more that we can do to create that culture, to create that community, the better for the collective.
I'm just so glad what you are putting forth is powerful and enriching. I personally appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
But you're doing this on behalf of a community of people that really, this is going to shift every perspectives on such a fundamental level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so incredible about when I started listening to your brother, and then I interviewed him, and now I'm here, and then I met you, and I watched you do your thing. I'm like, man, this is just another sliver on what this conference is all about and what your family is about. You and your brother, and now Dr. Boyce's wife, with dealing with the psychology of it. It's really fascinating. And, what I, just from an outside perspective looking in, realized right away, like, you guys are dealing with the fundamental things that need to be addressed. You're not dealing with the peripheral type of things at all. And then you're building on this. And other things that you talked about are micro private equity.
Yeah. Like you call it, private equity, micro private equity. Yeah. That's basically a fancy term for saying I'm going to buy a business that's already existing instead of building one from scratch.
So you're giving so you're giving specific tools and suggestions in line with entrepreneurship, micro private equity, real estate, and stocks. How do you feel about real estate right now? Are you still encouraging people? Well, I shouldn't say I would imagine home ownership is important. Is it beyond that? Because, real estate, the market is kind of strange.
Well, home ownership is important from the sake that it becomes a savings account for your family more than anything else in terms of the equity that you create in your home. When I think about real estate, from this perspective, it's those things that actually cash flow and appreciate in value over time. Because remember, the name of the game is increase your income and income sources. So real estate can be a good, stable way to increase the number of sources of income that you have. From like a diversification strategy. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was just thinking in terms of the hassle of real estate. Sometimes it becomes really burdensome.
Yeah, but private equity can be burdensome too in terms of buying businesses, and stocks can be less burdensome, but you have less control over the outcome of Procter and Gamble or Ford or whatever whatever company that you're thinking about. So none of this is easy. But all of it is definitely worth it.
Oh, for sure. And you also talked about estate planning. That's so important. A lot of people don't really do that. Reminded me, I got to get on that for sure. But that's huge in terms of planning for the future. It's not just about here,
right?
It's in the here and now, and it's not. You're really getting people out of this survival mindset, and that changes everything. Because what I've learned. I did this program called Landmark Education. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but what they talk about is who you are today is a function of the future that you're moving into. And so you're shifting the future that people are moving into. So it's affecting who they are today, because a lot of people think they're just a product of their past,
Right.
which, is rational and reasonable, but you're shifting the future that people are moving into because you're shifting their vision and their perspective. It's really super powerful. And then planning accordingly, like you mentioned also, global citizenship.
Yeah.
And you did this with your family?
Yes. So, both my children were born in Medellin, Colombia.
Okay.
And me and my wife both had visas at the time. So what that ends up meaning is that our children, automatically become citizens at birth. It's not like the United States where just if you're born here, you become a citizen automatically.
Oh.
You actually have to be legal residents of the country, for your children to become citizens.
And this was planned with this in mind, or were you just? Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was something that I wanted to provide for our children to have broader options in life and a safety valve, just in case things go wrong in their home country, which is the United States.
Yeah. Well, we got an election coming up, which is okay. Yeah, very disconcerting, and that was really, really interesting. And also, what was interesting that you put on here is disaster prep. And so, a lot of people have very strange feelings about, are you prepper? Are you prepping for the end? How would you talk about this?
Listen, so, the questions you're asking me about are in the protect quadrant. And that's basically how you go about limiting your downside risk in life.
Okay.
Right. And it's a downward facing triangle. And that's because the further you go down the triangle, the more society has devolved for you to have needed it.
Gotcha.
Right. So, the earliest stage is savings and credit. That's your first line of defense in terms of problems. And the insurance, health insurance, life insurance, those types of things. Estate planning, then global citizenship if you have to leave, but then also disaster prep, right?
Right.
In terms of, at the end of the day, if you get a lot of humans together in their most primal states, will you be able to survive?
Yeah. We have a kind of a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Like we're just a couple steps away from that happening. I mean,
Yeah, we have a false sense of security with a lot of things, just in life, but.
Yeah. So so your slides were categorized into earn, protect, and sustain. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And connect is the last one. So
and connect. Yeah, that's right. And so, and the circle, create memories and experiences. You start from the personal in the middle, then it goes out to marriage, family, and then
extended family, then your community. Yes, extended family and friends.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, we're all here. We're all here to impact the world, as best we can. In order to do that, your relationships need to be right because human beings are social creatures and social beings. So it's my philosophy or my stance that you have to have that personal connection with yourself before you can show up for other people around you. But then after that. What do you
do for that, if I may? Like,
I like to read. Okay. I personally, I'm a big thinker, so I like to, read audiobooks. I like to read sci-fi, especially.
I do that when I'm on a walk. I have
exactly
4 or 5 books always going.
Exactly, and the same for me. So I like to, kind of be, by myself and think and find that grounding for me.
Yeah, solitude is powerful.
Yeah,
a lot of people can't. We're kind of programmed to not want to be alone with the social media and the instant gratification and the dopamine hits and all that. And it's like, no, it's good to be quiet, quiet the mind. And then, so, there's having long-standing marriages are really important. It's not easy. I've been married coming up on 20.
Oh, congratulations. We're coming up on 10 years next year.
Wait, what's the date? Oh my God. I think my anniversary is coming up.
Okay. I gotta get on that. Yeah.
So that's critical in terms of maintaining community and everything. But also you said here, this was extended family and friends and community. I mean, so you start with personal, marriage, family, and then the extension into your community. And that's really, really important because what you're generating here is a humongous sense of community. And the All Black, is it a convention or conference?
Convention.
Convention, All Black National Convention. I mean, the energy here, I got to tell you, is super positive.
Yeah, yeah.
And could you just talk about the experiences that you've had since you've started this, and what any specifics that have stood out to you? That speech that Minister Nuri Muhammad gave, and the political talk yesterday. I don't know if you caught that. Did you catch that?
Pieces of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so honest. I felt like I was kind of eavesdropping on a family.
Yeah.
Just kind of really going at it and say, hey, let's hash this out. And that's kind of what it feels like here.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a testament to Boyce and the culture that, he wanted to instill in B1. So here, what stands out to me is the balance between talking about things that are serious, like wealth and finances, politics, your health, those types of things. But then you also have time to, not everything has to be serious, right? So, the first night we had a comedy show this year. Last night we had our B1 ball in awards gala. And it's time to just relax and, have fun and, build those social ties with others, and a setting that is not talking, all business. So
yeah. Oh, that's probably refreshing for a lot of people, because it is heavy.
Yeah.
You're getting, I would imagine for some people that are coming to the conference, it might be their first or their, their, some of their first experiences with brushes of this perspective. And so it's uncomfortable to get out of your comfort zone, which is how you grow,
right?
Which is great, but it's in this nurturing environment. It's like a safe space, so to speak, so people can be inquisitive. And your brother is a master teacher. It's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a seminar of his in Los Angeles. I'm like, I have some experience teaching, and I really was very taken with his ability to meet people where they're at with a level of humanity and humor and his analogies.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I get that concept really great.
Yeah.
And you're a very similar way. What are the differences between you? If I would just ask.
Yeah, it's a gift of his. I would say the biggest difference, although people say we sound alike and have many of the same mannerisms, I think the biggest difference is how we go about experiencing the world. Boyce is more of a experience first type of individual, so he likes to kind of get out there and do, and he learns from the process of doing and bumping his head and coming back again and trying something else, and being very experimental in that type of way. I'm more of the structured learner, and the structure behind things. So I'll gather a lot of information from many different sources and sift through it to come up with a plan that I think is best for us. So
wow, this is really powerful. I just wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap up and ask if there's anything else. But was there one or two experiences you can talk about that really impacted you with a family or a person that attended one of these conferences? Because this has been going on since when?
This is the ninth year, so 2015.
Any experiences that stick out, like the difference that you personally or the conference made in someone's life or lives, or a family that really is like, wow.
Yeah, you hear it all the time, with our Black Millionaires Tomorrow series, and
for the children, right?
For the children, and children starting businesses, and Boyce with Prime program and stock options. So people coming up and talking about how valuable that's been. I think about Kabibi. She's one of the attendees here. She's a poet, and some of the poetry that she's gotten up and spoken at previous ABNCs. The first B1 ball stands out as a joyous occasion as well. So, there are a lot of memories from the conference and the convention. So,
I bet. And what's really moving to me personally is when anybody stands for other people to really appreciate themselves, whether it's in a community or personally, like as a teacher, as an elder in a community, to say, hey, you're beautiful. This is the way you are. Because in this country, we're particularly the Black community, is conditioned to not feel that way.
Right.
It's a constant stream of this in a overt and covert way, and it's dealing with the subconscious mind. And then all of a sudden, you don't realize, a person may not realize why they have this issue with their self-esteem. I have a 14-year-old daughter who works on her through social media, and I'm like trying to talk to her about it. But this is a culturally specific thing. And so this conference speaks directly to that in a way that that people can digest. It's very, very specific. And, that's why I was so interested. And next I want to speak to Dr. Boyce's wife, Dr. Alicia, because she, he said, yeah, we're the only business school that has a therapy department.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because it's a culturally specific therapy department, even though I think an outsider can learn from some of the therapeutic distinctions she talks about. But this is specific to a group of people that have been dealt with in a specific way in the United States. And it's super empowering, and it speaks directly to the heart of that. So is there anything else? Thank you for your time so much.
My pleasure.
This is a really, really, really fascinating convention on many levels. But is there anything else that you'd like to leave with people about the convention or what you're up to?
No, I mean, I think, the most important thing is to, go to allblacknationalconvention.com and get your tickets for 2025.
Yeah. And where's that going to be?
It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the show. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe to hear more compelling shows on Rhythm of Life, and keep an eye out for our upcoming series of how we as a society oftentimes incentivize all the wrong behavior here in the United States. We see this in the healthcare industry, in the media, and in our educational systems, to name a few of the fields we will be covering. If you'd like to check out the Black Business School and save money on their wide array of excellent courses, there's a link below in the show notes. And they have wonderful courses for investing, for wealth creation, for starting your own business, real estate, as well as selling stock options. And they also have wonderful courses for children starting at the toddler age all the way up through teenage years to get them started early with their proper mindset for building wealth as they move forward in their journey. And if you're really committed to taking your health to the next level, I highly recommend Purium. Their products are incredible. I've been taking them for years and give them to my kids. They provide increased energy levels, improved digestion, deeper sleep, weight loss transformation, cleansing transformation. You can create lean muscle. Anything you want to do with your health, they have excellent products, because what you put in your body really, really matters. We use Can't Beat This in our home, the beet powder that gives natural energy boosts, and my 2 teenage athlete kids use it on a regular basis, and I feel good about giving them these products because most energy drinks are horrible. Anyway, there's an affiliate link down below, or you can just type in the code RandL, that's RANDL. And you can save money by using our link, $50 off your first purchase. And also, if you purchase more than $200, you get a 25% discount. Highly recommend Purium. If you have a moment, please leave a rating and review so more people can hear about us, and share about Rhythm of Life on social media, and like us on Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Steve Ordower.
This has been a Rhythm and Light production.